Welcome, everyone, back to another episode of Kingdom Commerce. I am your host, Cooper Peterson. And in today's interview, I will be joined by Krystal Parker. Krystal is the president of the U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce, and excited to release this episode. We're going to talk about a variety of topics, including the importance of networking as a Christian business, how to do so, the impact that Christian business can have on culture, as well as to learn about Krystal's journey from a former Fortune 200 business executive to becoming the president of the U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce. And so, without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. This is Kingdom Commerce, and today's episode starts now. Krystal, it's a wonderful opportunity to have you on the podcast. And I know I just did an introduction of some of the things that you've been involved in over the years, but just to give some background to our viewers on how we met and why I'm having you on the podcast, I think that's important. So back in October, you were at the Impact Conference at Cedarville University, and it was just a business conference to learn how to optimize and increase your impact for Christ. And you held a session, and part of that session was about one of the things that stuck out to me was you talked about this concept of mind share. And you mentioned that business leaders and entrepreneurs, they can have, it was like 840 times the amount of like mind share or impact sometimes that even pastors can have. And that was something that really kind of opened my eyes to the fact that in the business and entrepreneurship space, there's so much opportunity for gospel impact. And so, you're the president of the U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce, and so really excited to dive into that story. But Krystal, I'm thankful that you're on the podcast here today.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Cooper. It's a pleasure, honor, and just a neat opportunity to be here. And I candidly just absolutely enjoy pouring into young professionals that are out here using your voice, using your position to be able to just advance kingdom. So it's my honor to be here today, friend.
Well, appreciate it. And I think when I look to the people that probably are listening to this podcast, at least a segment of them, they're college students, they're working blue collar jobs, or they're working white collar jobs, but they're working for somebody, and eventually they want to get out on their own, and that's why they're trying to learn about entrepreneurship and doing it God's way. I read part of your book here, and part of what you talked about was you were at that point where you dropped out of college and you were stocking shelves, and you were humble beginnings to being an executive for a Fortune 200 company. And I imagine, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, there are probably some moments in there in that time where you wish you had that type of mentorship or the type of coaching where, this is the path, this is the way to do it. And so that's what I hope to dive into some of the wisdom that you have today and to share that with our audience. So, look, you are the president of the U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce, and that is something that is really neat. I did some perusing on the site. You guys have the membership programs, but if you could just walk me through one, let's just talk a little bit about why this is such an amazing resource and tool for entrepreneurs, Christian entrepreneurs. But then I also want to dive into the story of why you started this and what's the mission behind it.
Okay. Yeah. So, first of all, it's so lonely out there, as you know, especially as a Christian business owner. And we've lost a lot in our nation. Like our country used to really be founded in our Constitution on biblical values. And under the former administration, I mean, there was a lot of even more like Christian persecution, and it was very open. I mean, it was to the point where Christians, in chambers of commerce and other places that are traditionally places that business owners come together and collaborate and share resources and do business together, those types of business opportunities for Christians really just haven't been there and have evolved away from our ability to anchor our businesses in faith and prayer and the Bible, and how do we solve problems. And so it's been a lonely journey and path for business owners that really do profess Christ as their CEO, working with the Lord, and so the Christian Chamber model is really designed to support Christian business owners to come together, to collaborate, to use resources and find out about valuable resources that business owners need to know about, and then to see citywide transformation as a result of Christian business owners doing business together. One of the biggest challenges for the commerce mountain, if you will, in the seven spheres or the seven
The
mountains,
mountain of
depending.
business. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's right. Is that the money's leaking out of the kingdom businesses? And when I say it's leaking out, it's because of our ignorance, our lack of knowledge of who's a Christian business. And I know people that will drive past the Christian printer to the other printer because they don't even know that the Christian printer is a Christian printer.
Mm.
And so they're putting their money and the resources into business owners that are then taking those dollars and using them against Christian values and against things that we believe in. And so, if we can really build up the mountain of commerce for kingdom impact, then all of these small business owners are going to become medium sized business owners, and up, 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 up we all go. The rising tide is going to lift all those ships. But we have to really get intentional about supporting Christian businesses, using our businesses to advance the kingdom of God through the marketplace and transform our cities. And that's really what the Christian Chamber model does.
That's awesome, and I love that you really hit on the importance of community.
Hmm.
And it's almost like, I almost wish there were, where I'm at specifically, in my church, I wish there was like a Christian entrepreneurship group, because I feel like that would be, there's a discipleship that happens from Christian entrepreneurs who are experienced to those who are just starting off, because it's a whole new opportunity for ministry. And correct me if I'm wrong, you have local chapters that are popping up, right? And
Hmm.
so,
Correct.
where I went to school, Cedarville University in Ohio, you guys have one in, is it Lima, Ohio, that you
And
guys
Lima.
started?
Yeah,
Lima,
Lima.
and then one down in Central Florida. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes. So when I started, I was running Central Florida Christian Chamber,
Okay.
and there were a few other Christian chambers of commerce that were operating around the US. And so once I left Central Florida to launch the US Christian Chamber of Commerce to help start Christian chambers all over, we were able in just 18 months, 17 months to um, put 16 Christian chambers in our coalition, which means we're all meeting together and working together as Christian chambers to grow the model. And then also, of that 16, we were able to be a part of 10 of them launching. And so
Wow.
it's been a really exciting and wild and crazy ride in a short amount of time, only explainable by God. I just got the call from him and showed up and stood ready to serve. And it's not been easy. We've had a lot of typical things that any business owner would have. I mean, this is a startup business ultimately, even though it is a nonprofit.
Yeah, nothing worthy doing is typically easy. So,
Yeah, that's
um,
right.
no, no, I love you sharing that point there. I love the local chapter side of things, because I mean, in COVID, you just think of, there's opportunities to meet online,
Right.
but there's just something different about actually being involved in the community of where you are, and interacting with, right, the printer that's just down the street
Yeah.
that you didn't know was a Christian, and you can support, because a lot of these businesses, they have, in their, sometimes in their constitution, where they're, giving out that 10%
Yep.
of their profit. And so you're talking about money that's leaking out. Some businesses, it's going, to the hands of people who are, promoting things that aren't in line with God's laws, whereas some
Yeah.
businesses are. And so I think that's really, really interesting and important, and I love what you're doing there. um, I did have a question though, because I'll be honest, there's some times where I've had conversations with people, and they've been like, sometimes I don't, when someone says they're a Christian, I'm kind of put off by it, because there have been, times when people have used the Christian, I'm a Christian business, and then they go behind their back and cause problems. And I've heard this actually several times. How do you combat the people who are just using, is there a what's your view on meritocracy, and by merit versus, should, I guess my question is, should you just support a Christian business because they're Christian, or should you just support the best business because they're best at business? And Christians should just be the ones who are best at business. And so you should, I know
I'm
I'm
with
getting
you.
around here, but what I'm
No,
saying
I
is
hear
like
you.
Christians should be the best at business. So in
Period.
my opinion, it's like, I just want to be the best at business so that people will come to me and I can use that for the kingdom instead of me. My value proposition isn't that I'm Christian, but it's that my business is so good because I follow God's laws and his commands. And from that outpouring, that's the opportunity to bless people.
That's it. What you just said.
So
Period.
how do you come, no, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but how do you combat and like how do you train and equip people? Because I feel as though it's a real challenge. It's things I've heard, and that's something I'm trying to figure out for myself. So how do you ensure that like people aren't, joining the Christian chamber and then just trying to get, that court, sort of like that pity, like support me because I'm Christian type of business.
Yeah. The wolves in sheep's clothes.
Yes, that,
Uh-huh.
that is a much more simple way than I just
No,
I
you
just
did a
trying to
good job
explain.
because you brought in meritocracy and all of it, and I think you're so wise and I like just listening to your brain process your way around it because you're right. I mean, this is a tough one. Actually, I just saw. I don't know if you're familiar with Pastor Craig Rochelle, Life Church TV, one the
Okay,
Bible app. Like this
sure.
guy's like he's awesome, and he's got a new book coming out. I just saw it, and it's about this topic
Oh
about
man, I might have to pick that up.
yeah, we gotta grab this book. I'm really excited about it. But it's basically I'll paraphrase. It's like getting done dirty by the Christians and how to
Mm,
get through it. Because let's
yeah,
just call it what it is. Christians are human beings,
right.
and Christians have as much opportunity to fall to the flesh as anyone else. And so thank God for the grace of Jesus Christ. And I'm so
Amen.
thrilled that we are human, and so we do serve humans. I agree with you. Christians should be at the excellence. They should serve at the top of the game. You should know, look, and feel a difference in dealing with a Christian business versus somebody else. However,
Hmm.
we're dealing with humans. And what happens, I think, is that because we are Christian and we do wear that banner, we are judged at a different level than somebody else that doesn't put Christian on their nameplate because
And
they
we're
don't.
holding ourselves to a higher standard too,
Correct.
because
Correct.
we're saying we're trying to follow Jesus, who is the perfect example. And so
Mhm.
that's great.
Yep. What I like about the Christian chamber model is it's accountability built in. I can tell you, I've had some interesting calls as the president for, so and so said they're a member of your Christian chamber, and here's
Oh
what they
yeah,
did to me, and here's how they did it
wow.
through their business. And so, that is why when a lot of these business owners, small business owners, don't have board of directors, they don't answer to anybody. I'll use an example. I had a mover that I hired, and it was the owner of the moving company. So I thought, well, because he's the owner of the moving company, I'm going to get really great movers. Now they weren't Christian, obviously, and it was a horrible experience. And so,
Mm,
what do you do when you have that horrible experience? Like, who are you going to tell? Who cares, right? They don't care.
right.
He writes
Yeah.
the deals. He owns so I had nowhere to go. Well, when people are members of chambers of commerce or Christian chambers of commerce, there is a place for people to go to say, like, hey, that person's saying they're a Christian chamber member and they didn't do a good job with XYZ. There's accountability. And so when
Is it
people are,
similar to like a church discipline type
um,
model?
we have in our bylaws that we can remove people from the chamber. We do sign a statement of faith, say we believe in Jesus Christ and the birth, death, and resurrection of Jesus and the Holy Bible. And we also say that, membership is a privilege, it's not a right. And so we can revoke your membership. In all my years of working in this business, I have not had to revoke membership because the Lord is solvent. The Lord has an amazing way of dealing with people in ways that are so much better than me. And so he's removed people from the chamber and I didn't even have to lift a finger. And it's been great to see that. But no, it's real. It happens. And on behalf of everybody that's been hurt by a Christian, and I too have as well, I apologize for that happening to you because it stinks. It stings, it hurts, and it sure does make you feel a little bitter towards people that are those wolves in sheep's clothes.
Hmm.
My hope and the great thing about accountability and community is people that are behaving in that way don't typically make it long in communities like this that are very active, because we don't have patience for it, honestly. You're wearing the logo of Christ. You're a
Hmm.
brand ambassador for the most high king. And if you want to misbehave under your own brand, fine. But when you put the name of Jesus Christ, our Father God, on
Hmm.
something, and then you behave poorly, unethically, and really harm the brand of Jesus Christ, don't you think that my dad in heaven isn't going to deal with you in a way that is far better than anything I could ever do? And so I would just say, you're going to have your own price to pay, and it is not a good one.
Well, I appreciate the accountability that you brought in, because that's just a question that's come to my mind. Because people are jaded, and I think there needs to be, people have been hurt, and so,
Hmm.
but I also think that there is so much benefit to having that Christian community,
Hmm.
and because at least in my experience in the groups that I've been a part of, you get to see it's almost like, you go to a busy office, and you're working on your thing, but you look across, you see the other office, and you see they're working really hard. You
Hmm.
look across the way, you see someone else who's grinding away, and it's almost like that being in that environment that pulls you to a higher standard. Like there's no slacking
Yeah.
off when you have that group around you
Right.
that's pushing you, that's succeeded in ways more than you have and failed in ways that you can learn and how to avoid. And so
Mm.
that's I love that you guys are doing that. What does like a typical meeting look like for you guys over there?
Okay, so we have a few different types. So, one of the things that we do every month is called Kingdom Business Education. It's a live webinar, and we bring in the best of the best. We're bringing in experts, people that are top in their field, giving our members access to some of the best. So, the one that we just brought in was Chris Granger with The Lion Within Us. He brought it, man. I'm telling you, this was a four-course meal. I'm not even kidding. And it's really about how do we use the Bible to become better in business. But we tackle different topics from a Christian worldview, from a biblical worldview. So we're looking at everything from like AI, build your sales force through LinkedIn. But we're doing it all through the lens of Christ. And so there's that
That's
element.
amazing.
Yeah. And we chose not to do like recorded webinars. We're doing live webinars. So you can come, you pop on this call, you're going in for 5 to 10 minutes in a breakout room. Yesterday, this is super cool. You'll like this, Cooper. Yesterday, this was so fun because we just had one yesterday. And we put people in the breakout rooms, and they were in breakout rooms of three, and they were talking and discussing. So this guy gets on, he had just found out about it through LinkedIn just hours before. So he really felt like he was called to be a part of this event. So he registers, he joins, he's in a breakout room. He sees one of our members, and there's some books behind her. And he said, he goes, I just got that book. He holds it up. He's like, I've already done this, this, and this with it. This is the best. And it was the Christian Business Almanac. And he's like, he goes, and she picks up, she goes, this book? And he said, yeah. And she goes, I'm the author. And this guy
Oh,
was in Georgia. She's in Florida. And it was so cool. So those are the kinds of divine connections we want to make on everything that we do. So we're more than just like, we don't want to be talking heads. We want to be about collaborations, divine connections, etc. So that's one of our meetings. And the other ones that we do is called the exchange. The exchange is super cool, like picture old fashioned exchange where people come in to a room, it's virtual, and we are very intentional about 60-second elevator pitch. So for your audience, make sure you have a good pitch. 60-second elevator pitch. We move them around to different breakout rooms. We had over 65, I think 70 people register for this one. And so what we already do is assign them rooms. We assign them the different numbers and everything ahead of time. So they come in, we get them kicked off. They're going into their breakout rooms. They're selecting their breakout room based on their number that they have already been given. They're in there. They never leave their house over 1 hour. They're meeting over 30 Christian businesses new to them. So we call that one the exchange. That's super fire. That somebody even says like my cheeks hurt because I've been smiling for the last hour,
Wow.
meeting people. And so that's another one of our events. We also have a president's council, which is quarterly kingdom mastermind for our top line members. We have member orientation. Again, it's all live because we are all about relationships. And then we also have the coalition. So the coalition is all of our Christian chambers coming around a virtual table and growing together. And think about these coalition is most of these chambers are founding members of their chambers all over the US. And so you've got a lot of people really hungry for this movement coming together on a monthly basis to really see kingdom advancement.
Well, I'm not a member, but I think I'm getting sold on it right
Come
now. So,
on.
so yeah, we'll talk more about how to join
Right.
later. But I want to dive into, because obviously to be a president, you have to be really passionate about this. In this book, the best robot wins. You talk about there was a time when you took over the position of presidency. There's the curve in the book where it's like, there's the product life cycle, but you're like, in this life cycle of the Christian chamber, we were getting towards the extinction. And you said that you actually worked for the Christian chamber, with not enough, there wasn't enough to pay your salary, and so you were, your heart and soul was into this. Tell me about that time, and why did you choose to take this on, and what's your vision for it? What is the ultimate goal? What do you want to see happen? And then how can people, if they want, how do they support something like this?
Yeah, so you're right. I did not do the diligence I should have done, put it that way, when I came in to take over the Central Florida Christian Chamber.
What
Uh,
do you mean by that?
yep. So when I at the season I was at in my life, okay, so I had come through a my second divorce. I truly got to a point where I had surrendered my life to Christ. Was very successful in corporate America, Fortune 200 company, and God really got a hold of me fully, head, heart, everything. So I was all in for kingdom. And I was also at a point where it was like, okay, God, I remember at the time maybe was 42, 43, something like that. And I just remember saying to God, well, no, I would have been about close to 45. I just remember saying to the Lord, like, I'm 45. Like, I have a lot to give. Where do you want to use me? I just remember being face planted, uh, arms out, and just like going, like, I'm just use me. Like, I can't believe you're done with me. Like, you didn't put me and give me all of that from corporate to just have it be done here. So what am I to do? And so this was all before COVID had happened. And so at the time I was looking to go buy a business. I was looking at several different business models, and I was just kind of walking with the Lord and doing so. And it felt like looking under rocks. Like every business that I was evaluating, I was looking under the rock saying, okay, is this it? No. This one? No. And it was just this process of finding it, because I was always an entrepreneur, meaning like inside the company, I was always had an entrepreneurial spirit, but inside of a company. So as an entrepreneur, I didn't really have that journey of entrepreneurship fully yet. And so I knew that it was, but I wanted to get back into business. I really wanted to just serve God too. So as I'm looking under these rocks, I'm like, at the same time, somebody said you should check out the Christian Chamber of Commerce in terms of just being a member. And I was like, that's a thing. That's so cool. Like Christian and business. Okay, I'm in it. I'm with that. And so when I met with the president of the Christian Chamber, he called his wife as after our meeting, and he called her and he said, she's the one. Like God said, she's the one. He had been trying to retire and hand off the Christian Chamber to somebody
Mm.
for 5 years, and the Lord was just not letting him do it. And so he allowed the chamber to sort of naturally attrit. He wasn't growing it. And so here you have this Christian Chamber of Commerce, like in an identity crisis, falling apart, no real clear accounting mechanisms, no structure, no, I mean, this thing was just not from coming from a Fortune 200 company to this, it was just it wasn't a lot there. And
Mhm.
how he kind of presented it was like, well, it's part time, so you can do that and then grow your consulting company as well. And you know,
Intent and impact, right?
Intent and impact,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and so and I have clients through that, and I was just like, "Okay, let's just do it," you know? And I got in and I got the bug, and I saw the Lord allowed me to see what it could have been, what it was supposed to be, what was his heart for this model, this wineskin, and I couldn't stop. It became one of those things where it was like, this is my client. This is exactly what I'm supposed to do. I had to put the puzzle together. I couldn't not put the puzzle together. And you know, when you're serving different clients and this is your client and you can't stop. Like it was, I don't want to say it was an obsession, but it was an opportunity that God was giving me to like co-labor with him on this project. And I knew the difference that we were making and I knew the opportunity. And so it was, and then I became the president 2 months after COVID for Central Florida Christian Chamber. And to that point, like there were times there was no money. Even releasing Central Florida Christian Chamber as a great, fully functioning Christian chamber to new presidents where it is paying salary, it is paying admin, to launching US Christian Chamber of Commerce, I left my paycheck. I gave away my paycheck to go do another adventure with God, another nonprofit. Like
Mm.
I say business is my sport. I build companies and give them away. That's really what I do. That's what God's given me on this assignment. Build these nonprofits and then hand them off to somebody else, and do so at whatever means necessary, meaning there's months where you don't get paid. There's months where you will work 14-hour days and you will grind, you will toil, you will work your heart out. And there isn't money there in many cases for new startups. Some people go and raise the capital first and then go. And the Lord has not given me that. He said, go and I will bring
Mm.
it all. And He has brought unbelievable amounts of favor and manna and gifting and goodness. We have never gone without, my family. If anything, we have had more because of our yes. And I say our because this is a family affair.
Mm.
So, hope
What
you
is
know my
your like?
heart.
You know, you're extremely passionate about this, but what is your what's your vision? Like, what are you hoping that, or what do you think God is allowing you to build here? What's the direction? You know, what is your focus on right now? Because you know, I think the community groups are great, and you're opening up local
Mhm,
chapters.
mhm.
What is next for you guys?
Ideally, we're going to have Christian chambers in every state. I mean, like you said, having that community impact is so important. And so there are places and there's chambers of commerce everywhere. There's a US Chamber of Commerce that has a great amount of influence in our policy, and they are linked to chambers of commerce all over the US. The US Chamber of Commerce is very left leaning and not value
Mm.
aligned with what we believe. And so we
Mhm.
need to raise up a voice that has equal impact and influence to be able to counter some of their left leaning ideologies that unfortunately impact or counter Christian business
Right.
culture. A perfect example of that is during the COVID vaccines. A perfect example of that is,
Mm.
you know, allowing for or, pushing for the transgender bathrooms, let's say, or,
Right.
you know, transgender playing in women's sports, or how does it work in business, when you've got abortifacients in your insurance policies. I mean,
Yeah.
these are the kinds of things that are impacting Christian businesses that we almost feel like are just like getting shoved our way instead of being able to shape the policy. And so that's
It's almost
long
like a
term.
cornerstone. It's like a pillar
Hmm.
in your communities that you're looking to develop, that in local communities where you can have more of a stronger voice, where these businesses come together. Because similar to how like a church is, a church is like should be, in my opinion, should be a very central part of a community, and that's how it used to
Mhm.
be, where
Right.
it impacts culture. Businesses, in a very similar way, have the opportunity to impact culture,
Yeah.
and if you align and unite Christian businesses together, I mean, that just gives an
Power to
opportunity
it.
to have a stronger voice. Yeah, power
Power
to
to
it.
the movement. Power to the
Exactly.
movement. And that's the other thing is we're really bringing that awareness back to those Christian business owners that have really just have they've lost their community. They're not in church. I mean, we know 7 out of 10 people are not in church. So they're not in church. Where are they? How are they being fed? What are they doing? And then on top of that, what are they doing for their community? And to what you said about the church used to be that pillar, it used to be that these business owners were involved in the school boards, they were involved in their local community, whatever. And now it's like they're just going, running their business and coming back home. It's very internally focused. It's building bigger storehouses instead of really pouring into the community and being a pillar in their community. And we want to bring that back to our communities. We want to see people getting involved with who's the local mayor. And we know that for us to reach the government at a Washington level, it's not going to come because we went and bought a big building in Washington, which people have tried to do. That's not the direction. We're coming grassroots with the blue collar, the white collar shirt, the local business owner. We're trying to aggregate and bring them together in community and through the Christian Chamber model at every level, all the way up, so that we have the influence. And when we have the voice of thousands of Christian businesses that are awake, alert, knowing what's happening in the country, then we can make a change and we can continue to make positive changes. And candidly, Cooper, I think we have 4 solid years to be able to get some acceleration
Absolutely.
behind us right now.
Absolutely. One of the things that you talk about in your book is, there's the machine and there's the people in the machine, almost the paradox of having, running the machine, but you have to take care of the people in that. It reminds me, it's the parallel of, in business, there's people, and those people are in your communities, and those
Mhm.
communities
It's good.
make that they
Wow.
support, they support your business, right?
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so how do you view, I just want to hear more about how do you view the people in your business and how Christians should interact with them, minister to them? What are some of the strategies or the ways that you guys, um, educate or encourage people to view that specific topic?
Yeah. Well, I think it's really insightful what you said, Cooper, about the book, The Machine, and then how that even translates into community. I never thought about that before, honestly. I really focused it on business, the machine inside the business, but I never thought that that really does parallel. The ideology of it actually works for city movements as well. So thanks for that insight. I'll have to ponder that a bit, but I
Round
think
two,
that's
book
good.
number
Yeah.
two.
Oh my
Actually,
goodness.
you've already done book number two. I don't know if this is one or two, but you got
It's
the
good.
Kingdom Commerce. I got here, which
Ooh,
you
wait, I
got a
like
lot of
that.
the.
You've got it held right by your Kingdom Commerce. That looks super cool. Stick
Well,
that
I
in.
wanted to bring this up because it's really funny because I felt like a total copycat
Wait, I'm
because
gonna fan out. Can I fan out? I'm fanning out. Ready?
so
Got it.
all right. So I was like Kingdom Commerce and well, so we called it Kingdom Commerce with the K because
Mhm.
Kingdom Commerce with the C was already taken. And I didn't know who it was, so we just put another K on there, and we thought, we could make like a logo with the, like, looks like a shield and the sword and the cross. So
It's
so I
good.
felt like when I met you the first time, I was like, I had the Kingdom Commerce podcast. I felt a little guilty, after I realized you were the author and starter of the Kingdom Commerce. But um anyways, I just threw us
It's
way
a
off
good
track.
word. It's a good word.
Um
It's a good word. That's fun. That is so fun.
and you connected me with the guy who owns which is, so this is just, stories are powerful, right?
Right?
And we were connected for, I don't know, just like maybe a couple weeks, and then
Hmm.
you sent me an email and you're like, I know the guy who has the Kingdom Commerce
Website URL.
URL.
Hmm.
And I was able to connect with him, and I think there's a good chance that he might join the podcast at some point.
Oh, I hope
And that's just what, and then you typed the last thing you said was, "This is how we chamber," and I was like, wow, this is, I'm not even a part of the community at this point,
so.
but you're already showing that there's so much connection opportunity. I would love for you to sort of just like encourage people with some of the success stories or the impact that you guys have had, because that's a powerful way to really show that, the proof of concept of this thing and why people should get involved in the community.
Yeah, so I think people get involved for a number of different reasons. Some people solely get involved because they want to do business in the community and they want to do business with Christians, and we make that opportunities for them to do that. When you just think about marketing funnels and all of that, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so the whole way that the structure is set up is you're eliminating some of that marketing in the marketing funnel to get right to relationship and trust, because they're part of the same, let's just say, sorority or fraternity or the community, the tribe. They're part of that already. And so there's an inherent value of trust built in. So getting to know you, like you, trust you, want to do business with you is so much easier through this model. So it's brilliant. I don't even take credit for all of it because that's really what the Lord has shown
Mm,
me through this. And we hear, I mean, we really have a focus. Say we say we're here to serve, not sell. I know people that have attended other functions outside of the Christian chamber and had to just, I had one person say, I just came from another chamber activity, it wasn't Christian chamber. And she's like, I felt like I had to go home and take a bath. People were throwing their card at me and it was just so sales and do, whatever. And she's like, I just didn't feel like anybody even cared about me as a human. And
yeah.
that's really what we are. We're a real DNA of serve, not sell. And in serving one another, which is we learn from the greatest teacher and leader that ever walked this planet, Jesus Christ. And when we go out to serve people, there's millions of dollars exchanged in the chambers, millions, as a result of people showing up to serve one another. So that's pretty cool. Some people join the chamber because they are just looking for some education. And that's where we really serve them through the Kingdom Business Education of, hey, did you say you knew somebody in here that does some sort of an EOS, or there's somebody in here that does leadership consulting? We have access for all of our members for Transformational Leadership by Ford Taylor. And transformational leadership is really about helping leaders to grow in their leadership skills so that they can create a better environment and culture for their employees. And then they can do so from a kingdom perspective. See, you wouldn't know these resources or opportunities like what we're talking about today with Pastor Craig Rochelle's book coming up. These are kinds of things that, like, isn't it neat to be a great resource rich organization so that you can go find out things? It's fun to know things. And so, but here, I heard it said like this once, Cooper, I think you'll appreciate this. He said it like this. He said, 5%. And then there's 5% that you don't know. But there's this whole 90% that you don't even know that you don't know. Now, what if we can tap into that? Like, it's not even humanly possible for one person to know everything. But when you get 10 people together, not only do they know a whole lot more stuff, but you learn what you don't know that you didn't even know that you needed to know. And
One of
it's
the things my
powerful.
mentor says all the time is you don't have to know how to do everything. You just need to know
Who?
the person who knows everything about that one thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what better is it to work with somebody who is aligned with your values?
Yes, and that I'm totally taking that, Cooper, and that's exactly what we do with the Christian Chamber. So when I say resources, it's exactly that. And the thing is a lot of people can go out and work on their own, work in their business, whatever. But if you're not at a peer-to-peer level and you're not really investing in that, you're only going to know what you know, and that's unfortunately in this business environment, that's just not enough.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things, and I resonate on several different levels, but I want to go back to you said something that I resonate with where, and I've heard this too, where the people will go to a community business event and it's just people handing out their business cards. It's just a bunch of self promotion.
Yeah.
We had a guest on the show, good friend, or I probably should say mentor, Travis Smith, and he was attended the Impact conference. I don't know if you met him or not.
Okay.
He one of the things we talked about in our episode, and I'll link the episode down below for our viewers, but we talked about providing value first,
Hmm.
and it's one of those things where you provide value without necessarily expecting anything in return.
Yeah.
It's a form of service, and you do that through business. And when I was thinking about it a little bit longer, it's almost like when you have like almost like a venture capital that invests in 10 different, startup companies, and they only need, they succeed if 10%, 10% of that leads to something really profitable or beneficial.
Hmm.
And I think just a simple business practice is like provide value to people.
Yeah.
And if they want to provide value back, then that's up to them. And more likely than not, they will. And so it's not a type of manipulation, because
No.
it's part of what God calls us to do, to serve people. But I think it's one of the joys to be able to serve someone or to receive value from someone, and then being able to provide that value back.
Good.
And again, you're going to want to provide value for people that align with what you believe in. So
Yeah, that's a good
um,
word. It's a good word.
I love that you explained that. Um, let's say let's say there's someone who's watching that's like, man, I really could get involved, and I really could use these, would want to be part of a community that has this education, this network, be a part of people, of like-minded entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
What are the steps to take to get involved in the Christian Chamber, and what can they expect?
Yep. So it's super simple. Just go to uschristianchamber.com, click the join button, and you'll be able to learn and find the right path or membership option for you. And then you just follow the path. One of the things that we do is a statement of faith. And if you're aligned in those values, then be a part of our community. We also have it set through a subscription based model. Certainly, you can pay annually if you'd like. That's the old school chamber mentality.
Hmm.
We moved it to subscription based as well. So, it's just like a monthly fee to be able to be a part of this community. You get your business listed in a directory. You get to be a part of a larger community, a larger network. And there's a lot of neat technology behind our chambering that we're doing as well to help our members connect in ways that are a little bit more non-conventional and creative than just attending a virtual event. And so there's a lot of neat things that are involved with being part of the community, but it's literally, Cooper, it's as simple as uschristianchamber.com, join and be a part of this.
What if there's someone that says, I love this so much that I want to be a part of the mission, and to help serve? Are there any like volunteer
Hmm.
opportunities for people? And or are there opportunities to set up local chapters? Like, say there's somebody out west, I don't know if you have a chapter in Utah, for example. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there an opportunity for someone to open one up in their city or town, or what does that look like?
Yep. So yes, there is. There's a lot of opportunity for chamber growth, Christian chamber growth. We're at 16 now. We're working with three strong that are becoming on here probably in the first quarter of this year. My goal is to see 25 in 25 fully functioning strong Christian chambers. So if somebody's interested in hey, what does it take to launch a Christian chamber of commerce, then they would just reach out to our offices through our contact us page at US Christian Chamber and say, I'm interested and this is where I'm at, and then we'll get in touch with them and walk them through the process. And the other part is, if you wanted to just serve and be a part of serving in this community, then on our website, uschristianchamber.com, we have a careers page. We've partnered with Red Balloon for
Yes, Andrew. I'm gonna butcher his last name.
crappy
Caprichez. I've
fits.
heard.
Yep.
I've heard a lot about him,
Yeah.
and I would love to connect with him. I might reach out to him at some point. But yeah, redballoon.work, right?
I'm happy to make that
So
connection for you. Great partner, friend of the Christian Chamber. And so all of our members get a discount for posting with Red Balloon. That's where we have all of our careers. But right below careers is volunteer opportunities. And through that volunteer opportunities is our ambassador program. And so we can't do it without ambassadors. We can't do it without help of volunteers that, just like church, right? Serving in the church. Some people serve in the church, and that is awesome, especially if you're in worship ministry or you like taking care of kids or parking team. But we really want to tap into business skills. We're looking for people of all different types to come in and help us serve on the front lines of the Christian Chamber.
that's great. I love your vision. Love what you're doing here. My last question for you, and this is I love to ask this question because everyone that I interview comes from a different background, different set of experiences. But what would your encouragement to be as someone who's been both an entrepreneur? What is your encouragement to people who are maybe they're not quite sure that entrepreneurship is for them, or they've just started off and they're in that stage where they're working 14-hour days and they're not getting paid for it? What is your encouragement to them? And maybe a lesson or something you've learned along the way.
Yes, I've learned a lot of these lessons. um, well, I think I think what I would say is this. Well, what I would say is this. Is this of God or is this of you? If God's called you to it, then he'll lead you through it. If it's in his will, he'll pay the bill, and he will. And the other thing I would say is that oftentimes as humans and typically entrepreneurs, because most of us are type A, we're just grind, like we just drive, is we have our mindset that it has to look this way to mean that I'm successful. It has to come in this way. When I was with Central Florida Christian Chamber, especially, I always thought that for us to be successful, we were going to just need a lot of money because that's how I solve problems. That's what I knew from corporate. And I just thought that we are going to need the money. And I was so focused on getting the money that I was missing the little bit of oil that God already had for me. That was all I needed to be successful. And that little bit of oil was our whole ambassador team, all the people that love the Christian Chamber, all coming together, hundreds of hours of service to the chamber, which equaled a lot of money for the chamber. But I almost missed it because I was so stubborn and focused on one thing, not seeing what really God was doing all around me. So open your eyes, start to be thankful, and look for God's hand along the way because it may not come and probably won't come like what you think it's supposed to look like. And then be willing to evolve and adapt as you grow as an entrepreneur because I've learned through this process to even what I said to you, Cooper, was I didn't really do my diligence that well. Well, I'm glad I didn't because had I have, I might have went to turn over another rock. I knew
Mm,
exactly what God needed me to know in the moment to say yes, but I didn't know everything. And so oftentimes people feel like they're not qualified or they don't have everything that they need when actually they do because they have the creator of the universe. And so it's, I've learned it this way: forget about what you want and focus on what you have, and then let God provide you with what you need. And oftentimes, what will happen is it's progressive revelation. He can't give you everything because we're so dim witted half the time. We're going to go run and try to do it all on our own. And God's saying, I need to take you step by step so I can grow you to become the leader I need you to lead, to be where I need you to be. And I can guarantee you that the girl that started leading at Central Florida Christian Chamber, that woman is not the same woman that I am today. And I know that I can get to continue to grow along the way. I'm not stopped and I'm not going to end here, but I'm just saying that if I look back at her to where I am today, I was never ready to launch the US Christian Chamber of Commerce. He had to take me through that valley so that I could cling to him, so I could grow in my faith and grow in my resolve, so that I could be prepared to do what he's called me to do today. And so I think sometimes people just want to get ahead of themselves, Cooper, and start to think, I got to get to the end, I got to get to the end, and the end looks like this, instead of sitting here and just taking in this journey. This, like, yeah, entrepreneurship is the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life, and it's the highest and best thing you'll ever do in your life. But if we're too busy trying to get to the finish line, whatever that is that we've created in our mind, then we're going to miss this journey. We're going to miss the ride. You're going to burn up. You're going to fry out, and you're not going to make it to the end because you're too busy trying to create it in your strength. And if God called you to it, he'll do it for you, with you, and through you. And you will get a chance to give him all the glory. Because if you get
mhm.
to the finish line on your own, you're going to take the glory. And God is clear. What I love about God, he tells us time and time and time again in the Bible, where he's like, I would, even Gideon, like Gideon's one of the best stories of that. God wants the glory.
He's
When
jealous for it.
he is, and rightfully so. He's the King of Kings. And so when we try to create our own kingdoms, then he's not gonna allow that. And so yeah, do it in his time.
It's a process, but it's not linear. and trust
Good.
process not linear, trust the Lord, basically. You know what I'm saying? So no,
Hmm.
I appreciate you sharing, more about your personal journey and everything that you've done so far with the Christian Chamber. It sounds like you're doing some amazing work. I'll make sure to point everyone to go check it out and see what it's all about. But Krystal, it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Y'all, this is Kingdom Commerce, where we do commerce the kingdom way. I'm your host, Cooper Peterson. See you next time.